Hello and welcome to What's Next. It's Indy NXT Oval Series action here for week number 8 of 12 of the inaugural Indy NXT Oval Series here on iRacing. We're here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, known as Gateway to many, here for what will hopefully be a wonderful night of what many open wheel fans would consider a short oval, but by many definitions is not, in the 1.25 mile Gateway Raceway in Madison, Illinois. No, it's not in St. Louis. I will stand by that. You could see the Gateway Arch off in the distance if you go at the right angle, but boy howdy, is it not in St. Louis. We are working through practice at the moment. Strength of field sitting just under 4,000 at, I believe, 3,900 and change. We're outboard with IAR's Mark Murphy and his red, white, and blue IL-15. And it looks like practice is just wrapped up, so we're going to get ourselves our timing tower on the screen, look and see who's going to be the fast qualifier here tonight. May play a key factor, as we've seen many a time here in Indy NXT competition, as the car that starts near the front tends to do a pretty good job throughout the race. We've seen in a number of cases that leader can gap the field quite considerably, and we'll see if that continues to remain a factor here at Gateway. We will hang out with Rogue Racing's Kyle Clenworth as he leaves the pit lane. We will hop on board with him as he makes his qualifying attempt here tonight. Heading down the back straightaway here at Gateway. Recently, art updated here at Gateway. I do not believe they touched the track surface in doing that, but you'll see the walls and the general track ambiance is different compared to previous visits here to Gateway. Kyle working down the front straightaway here, heading off into turns 1 and 2. He'll run kind of the middle lane there, head on to the back straightaway. That infamous wall cutout has been removed in the update there. You will not see that opened up any longer. He's going to look to run the high side here, likely trying to get lap 2 to be the fast lap here. We'll see if that winds up being the case for him. He'll cross the line. Aaron Likens currently provisionally on the pole with a 27.788. Here comes Clenworth for lap number 2. He's going to make contact with that outside wall, and I believe that's going to be run over for Clenworth. Likens still on the pole as it stands. 27.685. Good to see the IndyCar flagman out here in force. That will indeed be run over for Clenworth. Matt Glenn jumps to the pole with a 27.636. We'll head out there with somebody, if we can find him. Miles Morris. He's making it back out onto the track here this week. He's working into turns 3 and 4 on the outlap here. We'll see if Miles has got something figured out here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you have the means and want to do so, you can support us monetarily by throwing us some money through our GoFundMe link in the description or a super chat here on YouTube. We do these on behalf of the community, and it would mean a lot if you felt the generosity to toss us $1 or $2. You could certainly also put a comment in the chat, subscribe, like the stream, share it with your friends and family. Whatever you want to do, we'd love to have everybody here watching open wheel action here on P1 Broadcasting throughout the week here on iRacing. Yeah, the G920 is a great starting point. It's low enough in terms of cost if you find out that you're not maybe as big into it as you thought you were, and they tend to resell relatively close to their new value, so you can get a decent return on it if you either don't like it or you like it enough to maybe move on to some more pricier or upper end equipment. A lot of the best drivers here on iRacing swear by the long lineage of Logitech entry-level racing wheels. You'll see Kyle Clenworth out here tonight. He's one of the best out here to do it, and he's on, I believe, an old Logitech G27. So it gets the job done as good as anything. Ultimately, if it gets you out on the track turning laps, that's the most important thing. So we've got a minute left here in qualifying. Pretty much everybody's set a time here so far. Indy Kirkwood is actually the last car out on track. We'll ride on board with him. This, I believe, will be his second lap. Currently with the slowest time in qualifying thus far. We'll see if the current points leader can put it back near the front of the show like he has so many times throughout this season. He's going to run all the way up against the pit wall down the front straightaway here. And that's going to put him 5th on the board. We'll see if he can make up some ground throughout this race. And we'll get to our starting grid here tonight from Gateway. On the pole will be none other than Matt Glann with a 27.636. Alongside him will be Dylan Wylozinski with a 27.668. Chris Wetz will line up 3rd alongside IndyCar flagman Aaron Likens in his number 4 machine. Indy Kirkwood, the current points leader and the driver for Votive Racing, will line up 5th alongside John Corwin in the 6th spot. Justin Bolgren, I believe, was the winner of the last split here at Gateway this week. He'll line up 7th alongside Chris Fletcher in the 8th spot. AJ Pritchett will line up in 9th alongside Taylor Thurman in the 10th spot. Alex Krapser will line up 11th. Good to see him back here out in Indy NXT competition. Mark Murphy from IAR will line up 12th in his number 3 machine. Miles Morris will be 13th here tonight in his number 14 car. Crash Neon, the winner earlier on in this season, I believe at the Iowa Speedway, will line up 14th. Andre Castro will line up 15th alongside David Zippy in the 16th spot. And Rogue Racing's Kyle Clenworth will round out the field in the 17th spot. And we will get ready to go here from Gateway. It's going to be a single pace lap here around this 1.25 mile oval in Madison, Illinois. Going to be quite an action-packed race, I do anticipate. This was one of the few tracks that me, my teammates, and some other drivers got an opportunity to do a hosted session during week 13 to get an idea of just exactly what we might come to see in the official series for this car. And it's very much going to be very, very close, tight action where the drivers are going to have to navigate a lot of cars around them in very close proximity. Sounds like the biggest opportunity to pass is going to be down the back straightaway if you can build the run out of turn number 2. And that will be arguably the best opportunity for these drivers to make up ground, is on the outside lane, heading down the back straightaway off turn number 2, and then closing off and running the low lane in 3 and 4 and rinse repeating until the end of this 45-lap event. Indy's here for some left turns. Let's see if he can make up some ground on the inside of the 3rd row here tonight. Drivers coming off turn number 4 here at Gateway. The pace car will pull off here shortly, putting the field in control of Matt Glann and his Ghost Energy car. Pace car is in. Glann's going to take off. We are under green. First couple cars are going to wind up single file. We'll see just how many back we get. Single file for the bulk of the opening couple of cars. We'll jump back to further in the field, but Dylan Wylozinski is going to look to the inside of Glann here for the lead early. That's going to move Wylozinski to the point for now. We'll see if Glann can fight back on the outside. It looks like he can. They're going to stay side by side here for the point. We'll see if this settles out. Oh! That's going to be Wylozinski into the wall, or sorry, Glann into the wall. Contact is made, And that shot glanded right up the track. We stay green. Glenn has the meatball flag and towing to the pit lane, but that was very odd-looking contact between the two cars through 1 and 2 there. Wylazinski remains at the point. Aaron Likens, he'll be running second. He's going to look to the inside in 1 and 2 here. Dustin Bolgren in the 4th spot, setting the purple lap with a 27.834. Chris Wetz looking to the inside. John Corwin is working that high side on Wetz. So they're 2x2 with Fletcher and Pritchett behind them. Pritchett in that now somewhat iconic Pabst Blue Ribbon scheme. He's going to work the high side, make the pass on Fletcher. Kirkenbauer with the fastest lap of a 27.471. Kyle Clenworth slowly working his way forward through the field. He's up to 14th, battling Mark Murphy for the 13th spot. We'll get to gaps on screen now, showing you the proximity of how close these cars are still together here at Gateway. Side by side for the 2nd spot. Kirkenbauer's looking high on Likens. Likens is going to stay down low. That's going to let Bolgren on by, at least for the time being, on the outside. Corwin's going to do the same. It looks like that outside lane very much preferred off the corner there through 1 and 2. That'll move Likens down to 5th.
Caution,
and we've got a caution. I believe that's going to be Andre Castro, the 1 car here tonight. We'll quickly go back here and see what happened to Andre. So we're heading down. I believe this is going to be the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. I think this is 1 and 2. He just gets loose. I'm wondering if that was netcode or if he had damage that he didn't know about until he got to the corner there. Off into 1 and 2 here. We're going to be under yellow on lap 6. Single car accident with Andre Castro. Not sure if maybe there was netcode contact between himself and Mark Murphy. But we'll be under yellow for the first time here tonight. Kirkenbauer's made up 3 spots. He's arguably the biggest mover here at the front of the field. We've seen Clenworth up 4. Murphy's up a couple. Run quickly through the top 10. You've got Wylazinski, Kirkenbauer, Bolgren. John Corwin runs 4th ahead of Aaron Likens in the 5th spot. Here's Likens once more. Got A.J. Pritchett in the 6th spot. Chris Fletcher runs 7th. Taylor Thurman is in 8th. Chris Wetz is 9th in that all-white car on the inside there. See Miles Morris in 10th. Alex Krapser runs 11th. Kyle Clenworth is up to 12th as we see Mark Murphy make a trip down the pit lane off in the distance there in his machine. That'll put him to the tail end of the field. Crash Neon, he runs 13th. You got David Zippy, he runs 14th. And Mark Murphy once more still in the pit lane running 15th. The last car not involved in an incident so far here tonight. Very treacherous seemingly through turns 1 and 2. That contact seems to be very much a factor here as the cars get bunched up between the 2 lanes on the bottom end of the speedway. Not too unlike other Road to Indy cars here at Gateway, in which we visited here many a times in both the USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 across its now 3 series. It's very much one of our bread and butter tracks here on the Road to Indy, in terms of the virtual world anyway. Of course, those lower level cars now only featuring on 1 oval a season. I believe actually next year the Indy Pro 2000 will take on the Milwaukee Mile. That'll be cool to see. I believe that'll be their second of 2 oval rounds that year, the other taking place at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. So Wylazinski will lead here. Believe that's lights out on the pace car. We will be going green this time by on lap number 8, going on to number 9. We will see if anybody can start making some climbs further up the grid. You know, Kirkenbauer leading the points. I'm sure he's hungry for another win here tonight. Try to extend that points gap. Believe he leads over Chris Wetz in the standings. Yeah, 62-point lead for Kirkenbauer over Wetz as it stands going into this event. Dustin Bolgren sits about 100 points back of Indy. So those are your top three in points, but we're about to go under green here. Pace car will be off. We're here with Wylazinski in control, coming off of turn number 4. He's going to launch now. Green flag is out. We're back underway here at Gateway. We'll see if Kirkenbauer can maybe start to reel in Wylazinski over the course of this next run, or if Wylazinski, now that he's in the clean air uninterrupted with that launch, can break away here. We'll hop back to that battle for the second spot between Bolgren and Kirkenbauer. These are first and third in the point standings right now, so it's good to see that the cream is rising to the top here once again here at Gateway. In Indy NXT. Bolgren's going to look high here. Kirkenbauer's going to run that low lane through 1 and 2. Gap's about 0.4 of a second to Wylazinski at the front here. We'll see if that could start to close as they get into his toe now. Wondering if these drivers are knowing that it's going to be best if they play nice here to try to reel Wylazinski back in. You see Corwin in the 4th spot ahead of Likens in 5th. Very close between Kirkenbauer and Bolgren going into 1 and 2 there. They're going to head down the back straightaway. Gap now 2.5 tenths from Wylazinski to Kirkenbauer. That draft is slowly starting to work in the favor of Kirkenbauer now. Always a factor here at Gateway with these very, very long straightaways for how short the track is relatively. Kirkenbauer is going to look to the inside of Wylazinski into 1 and 2 here. Wylazinski will hold tough on the outside. He'll have the momentum down the backstretch here. Bolgren's going to get on by. I do believe Kirkenbauer will fade into the 3rd spot. Very much seems like you have to be committed to running the high side off of turn 2 to stay in the toe down the straights here. We'll see if anybody can maybe make that move on the bottom work here, maybe as the tires wear. That has been a big factor here in Indy NXT competition, is that tire wear. We saw it especially at the Nashville Super Speedway on the concrete. That tire wear playing a huge factor into drivers being able to maintain their track position, as we see Kirkenbauer under fire from John Corwin in that number 15 machine. They're all going to remain in a nice orderly line here down the front straightaway, coming to lap number 14, I believe. Kirkenbauer running that higher lanes, getting the draft down the back straightaway. Here's going to look to the inside of Bolgren for the 2nd spot going into turns 3 and 4. Not quite alongside, but at least thereabouts. He'll stay low. Tuck back into line down the front straightaway here. That's going to give Likens an opportunity to look to the inside of Corwin into 1 and 2. He's going to back out of that. Kirkenbauer runs that high lane in 1 and 2 once more. Get the draft down the front straightaway. Bolgren, Kirkenbauer, and Wylazinski have now somewhat broken away from the field. Kirkenbauer looking for anywhere to go here on Corwin. Let's hop back to the end of this train, actually, as we've got about 8 cars here running in the lead pack here down to Taylor Thurman in the 8th spot. We'll actually jump back to Thurman and watch cockpit view from his car, see what he sees trying to navigate the 1.25 miles here at Gateway. He's going to be looking to the outside of AJ Pritchett in that Pabst Blue Ribbon machine just ahead of us here. 6-gear full pin down the front straightaway heading into turns 1 and 2. Slight throttle lift. Back into the power. Thurman's going to get that run down the back straight. She's going to look to the inside here on Pritchett. We'll see if he can make the move here in 3 and 4. He's going to scrub that speed on that inside line, but he might be able to have cleared here. Still side by side. Thurman's going to clear him now. Work back through 1 and 2 here. You see Aaron Likens just ahead of Thurman now in the 6th spot. We'll ride one more time around here. As Dustin Bolgren's fighting for the lead with Wylazinski off in the distance there. We can see that. Wylazinski's running high. Corwin's on the inside looking down the front straightaway now. Kirkenbauer's in that battle as well. We're going to actually hop outboard now and try to catch that battle here. We'll jump to Kirkenbauer in that fourth spot. He's on the high side. He's going to make it by Corwin for the third spot. He's going to be tucked in right behind Bolgren and Wylazinski for the point here. Wylazinski's taking it back from Bolgren. It's been a very, very close battle here. Not too unlike what we've seen in other cars here on the road to Indy at this track. Very, very hard to break away. Dominant lane seems to be that middle lane off the corners, down the straightaways. And you basically are trying to get your car just ahead to clear heading down into turns 3 and 4 to ultimately run as close to the pit lane wall and win this race here tonight. We're approaching the halfway mark now. I will point out that this is one of the tracks that we definitely have seen play a big factor in terms of driver development here on iRacing. It's playing host to those Road to Indy races. It's one of the more iconic tracks. It was one of the tracks that I won at on my way to my first USF 2000 championship here on iRacing. So it's very much one that if you get out here and figure it out, and can figure it out even in this Indy NXT machine, it may set you up to move up the rungs, competing in that top split you saw earlier. The Indy Oval Series took place at Las Vegas, a very, very close battle there at the end of that race. So we're going to reach lap number 23. That'll mark just over halfway in this event of 45 laps. Oh, we've got a crash. Kirkenbauer's in the wall. That's Corwin as well.
Caution.
Yellow flag is out. We're going to go back and take a look at that. So that starts with Kirkenbauer, I believe. See if we can find his car once more. He's going to tow here. Try to see if we can find him here. Can we find Kirkenbauer's car? Might be easier to find Corwin. Not sure if we're going to be able to find either of those machines, but it looks like there was cars in the wall off turn number 4 there. Actually, we've got Corwin here now. We'll see if we can find exactly what happened to him. I believe this wreck starts with Kirkenbauer, so we'll move to his machine as we get it on screen here. So we're heading off turn number 4 here. Indy's on the outside of Corwin here. He's running that second or third lane, arguably, through 3 and 4 here. They're alongside one another. Corwin's starting to maybe move up just a little bit through the corner here. They're going to make slight contact, I believe. That's going to send Kirkenbauer into the wall, down into the track, makes contact with the right rear tire of Corwin. That's going to send him around. And I believe Likens is going to skirt on through, as is, believe that's going to be one more machine there, and then Wetz makes it on through. So only a 2-car accident there, but we'll catch back to the field here as we're about ready to go green, I'm sure. Light's still on the pace car. Tough break for our points leader here tonight. That's going to put Indy a bit down for the count, as his closest competition, Chris Wetz, is still out there on the track, running in the 10th spot. That gives him the opportunity to maybe make up some ground in this championship hunt. These drivers not really able to get away from each other here at Gateway. Very action-packed race here so far tonight. We're just over halfway now. Gonna real quickly highlight our coverage for tomorrow night. I believe Gary Gotso will be on the call for the Formula Indy Series tomorrow night. They'll be taking on the Homestead Miami Speedway. That'll take place. Oh no, they're at Portland tomorrow. My mistake. Formula Indy Series will be at Portland tomorrow. That'll take place at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Mark Murphy will be on the call for the Horizon IndyCar Series round number 12 of Season 2 from Iowa at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Thursday, we'll have Mark Murphy on the call for the second split of the IndyCar Pro Series qualifier in the Indy NXT from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's the last of our coverage for this week. Fairly light week here on P1 with a number of leagues wrapping up, particularly on the NASCAR side of things with the AMA. So we'll have ourselves continued coverage of our usual suspects next week. We're about ready to get under green here. 20 laps to go here in the Indy NXT race from Gateway. Want to thank everybody for tuning into this one. Been quite a race here so far. We've got basically another half of a race to go.
Green, green, green.
Wylazinski's going to launch here. Green flag in the air from Barney. Head down into turn number 1. We'll see if Bolgren this time can wheel back in Wylazinski. He's been one of the few drivers here tonight to be able to challenge for that lead spot following the early incident between Wylazinski and Matt Glenn. And I do want to shout out Kyle Clenworth. He started shotgun on the field here tonight in 17th. He's made it up to the 6th spot here. We'll see if he can work his way into the top 5 here shortly. But A.J. Pritchett is looking to the inside of Thurman for that 3rd spot. We'll see if, because these cars don't have quite the closest of the draft, if he's able to make this work at some point. Mark Murphy putting in a solid run. His IAR machine running in 8th, just behind Miles Morris in the 7th spot. We'll see if Murphy's able to make up some more ground here. Pritchett looking low once more. We're starting to see the gaps close as these cars get into the draft of one another. We'll see if we're able to get the field back together here, fighting for that win here tonight. We'll have down to Clenworth in the 6th spot in this lead group, should it come to fruition. You'll have Pritchett looking low here once more on Thurman. Thurman's running that higher lane. He's going to stay in the tow of Bolgren ahead of him. We're going to move to Bolgren now as he starts to close in on Wylazinski. Gap now 1.5 or 0.15 tenths of a second here. That's going to close as he stays in the draft here. Is he going to look going into 1 and 2 here? He's going to stay in line for now. Pritchett, he might go for a 2-for-1 special into 1 and 2 as Kyle Clenworth sets the purple lap of a 27.334. He's caught the back of Chris Fletcher for the 5th spot. We stay here at the front. 2 by 2. Thurman looking to the inside of Pritchett now for 3rd. Pritchett's going to look on Bolgren for 2nd. He's going to be there for now. We'll see. Bolgren's going to have the momentum here on the high side. Put Pritchett back to 3rd. Bolgren still all over the back of Wylazinski for the lead here. Within a 10th. Pritchett's going to look down to the inside once more. He wants to make up 2nd yesterday. He's going to be nice and low here. He's going to have the momentum as Bolgren has a bit of a poor run through 1 and 2 there. Cars stacking up behind him. They're going to go 3 wide. Thurman's in the wall.
The yellow flag is out.
I believe that's going to be contact with Chris Fletcher that puts Thurman in the wall there. And that stack up from Bolgren on the high side results in another incident here tonight. We'll catch that just here shortly. We'll back the cameras up, rewind the tapes, find exactly what happened to Bolgren here. Coming off turn number 2. So we're heading into turns 1 and 2 here. Bolgren's running in that 2nd spot. You see Pritchett making a huge run there on the bottom into 1 and 2 here. Bolgren's going to get probably a little bit of dirty air and understeer here. He's just a little bit higher than he's probably expecting to be. He's going to slide up, get real close to that outside wall. Doesn't quite make contact, but it looks like Fletcher might. Thurman checks up, probably trying not to run into Fletcher to his outside. And then if we jump back to Fletcher here, you'll see Clenworth trying to work the bottom here, taking it 3 wide down into 3 and 4. And Thurman just going to get a little too far over to the right and make contact with Fletcher, and that's going to send Thurman into the wall, likely with damage for Fletcher as well. Fletcher's going to head down the pit lane here, likely to evaluate that machine. He's got a black flag for something, potentially incidents. I'm not quite sure here. That'll be likely night over for Chris Fletcher. That'll move Mark Murphy into the top 5 here tonight. Game of survival here at Gateway, heading towards the final 10 laps of the event here tonight. Doesn't seem too unlike the IndyCar race we saw here from Las Vegas tonight. Seemed like the drivers that are able to stay out of the incidents were able to make their way to the front of the field coming into that race. Or the ones that were already at the front at the right time. So we saw Kyle Clenworth make a ballsy pass in the middle of Casey Povolonis and Mason Mitchum in that race in the opening stint to take the lead. And that's ultimately what set him up to be in the lead for the closing stint. Lights are still on the pace car. We'll head with 2:10 to go. Sammy chiming in the chat. Go Clendy and Murph. I'm Team Clendy and Murph too. Be good to see them get a solid result here tonight after starting deep in this field. Good to see everybody making it out here once more. You know, you've got guys like Miles Morris and Aaron Likens, Chris Wetz, Crash Neon. They've been coming in and week out, showing their support for Indy NXT here on iRacing. Good to see a good variety of drivers making their go at the IL-15, brand new this season here on iRacing. Lights are finally out on the pace car. We'll be coming to 9 laps to go here. We'll see if any of these drivers have anything for Wylazinski here. If there's enough time for them to gain back up to him, he will get that launch likely on the restart here. But the draft is so important in these cars here. We'll see if anybody further on in the field can make a move. Got to imagine guys like Clenworth, Murphy, Morris, now that they're up here, they're going to be looking for it. Pace car going to head down the pit lane here very shortly. Field will be back in control of Dylan Wylazinski. Heading off turn number 4. Field in his hands. We're green. He's off.
Green flag.
Pritchett gets a solid launch behind him. We'll see if Pritchett can make a challenge here for the lead. You've got Clenworth on Bolgren. That's the battle for the 3rd spot. Bottom step of the podium here tonight. We'll come around for 8 more laps here at Gateway. See if Wylazinski can hold off a hard-charging A.J. Pritchett. We know A.J. likes to run that low lane. Wylazinski covers it off. We've got a yellow. That's Miles Morris. We'll see what happened to Miles here real quick. Coming down into turns 1 and 2. I believe that's Aaron Likens to his inside. Chris Wetz just behind them. Head off into 1 and 2. Likens gets his wing alongside Wylazinski. They haven't quite made contact just yet. Metcode might have played a factor here, but that's going to send Morris rear end into the wall, knock both the wings off his IL-15, and that's going to end Miles Morris's run here tonight. Put him down to at least the 12th spot here. We have 11 cars still running out there on the track. Believe we will get another crack at this again. We'll see if these drivers can put it together here. Fellow Indy NXT community manager Solstice chiming in the chat. Was going to say it looks well behaved, but oopsie. It happens every once in a while. This track's kind of a bit of a brutal one in terms of the net code, in terms of cars going real deep into the corners, and the closer they get together, the harder that becomes. These open wheel cars are probably some of the most unforgiving in terms of the net code, especially on the ovals. Especially the IndyCar, for that matter. Operating faster than the internet can handle, as we like to call it. We're going to come around to 6 to go here. I believe the lights will stay on the pace car one more time around. That will be the case. I believe we will go green with 4 laps left in this event. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough time for a Bulgren or a Pritchett or even a Kyle Clenworth to make a charge at the lead here. But crazier things have happened, as we've seen so far tonight. This is round number 8 here of Indy NXT inaugural oval series here on iRacing. Next week, I believe, we'll be taking on the Atlanta Super Speedway. I will confirm that here just in a moment. Yes, we will be taking on the Atlanta Speedway, Echo Park Speedway, the current configuration of that track. The 10th week of the season will take us to the old version of Phoenix, proper Phoenix, Legacy Phoenix, Freenix, many names for that track. Week 11 will take us to the Kansas Speedway, and we'll be at Homestead, Miami for the Week 12 season finale here in Indy NXT oval competition. A wise driver once told me netcode travels to the outside of the corner. That it tends to. That it most definitely tends to. Lights are out on the pace car. That'll put the field back in control of Wylazinski here for the restart. 11 cars out on the track still. That's Wylazinski, Pritchett, Dustin Bulgren, Kyle Clenworth, Mark Murphy, Aaron Likens, Chris Wetz, Alex Krapser, Crash Neon, David Zippy, Chris Fletcher in the 11th spot. And those are all the cars out on the speedway. We've got 3 cars still serving meatball flags in Morse, Thurman, and Corwin due to incidents earlier. They're going to try to get back out there if they can. The Phoenix will rise from the ashes in Phoenix. It's a crowd favorite, especially in the Road to Indy circles. I'm excited to see how that plays out here in Indy NXT, but we're about to go back to green. Going to 4 laps to go here. We'll see if anybody's got something for Wylazinski here in the closing stages. Green is out. Decent launch for Pritchett as well. Gap's going to be a little over 3/10 here. Kyle Clenworth has made the jump on Dustin Bulgren to the inside. He'll make the pass for the 3rd spot. We'll see if Bulgren has an answer for that. This is going to be our closest battle here as it stands. Clenworth's going to do what he can to hold the inside line here. He's going to slide up. Bulgren's going to look down low. They'll be side by side down the front stretch here, coming to 3 to go. Bulgren's going to have the low line and the momentum. Bulgren's going to cut down. Kyle's going to have the momentum off the corner here. He'll look to try to cut down, but can't. That's going to put Mark Murphy ahead of them. Clenworth falling back to the 5th spot. That'll move Mark Murphy to a shot at Bulgren here. Bulgren on that high side. Mark Murphy looking low. Kyle Clenworth re-entered the picture on the high side. 2 to go here. Wylazinski all on his lonesome now. Not going to be enough time, I believe, for Pritchett to catch him. It's going to be the battle for the bottom step of the podium here as Chris Wetz and Aaron Likens have entered the picture behind Clenworth here. Bulgren holds it. Can any of these drivers just behind him make a run at it? Coming to the white flag here. Likens is going to look 3 wide. Here he comes on the bottom on Mark Murphy. They're going to come off the final corner. Kyle Clenworth's going to try to make the run on Dustin Bolgren down the front straightaway. Here he's going to look. Not have enough time. Bolgren's going to hold on to the third spot. Clenworth in fourth. I believe Mark Murphy gained the fifth spot coming to the line there. Not quite sure. Looks like Wetz ultimately won that fight out. Very close battle for the rest of the spots. Fourth on back. Or I guess third on back. And we will get to the finishing results here from Gateway. So it will be Dylan Wylazinski winning here tonight after starting second. Made a move early on. Pole sitter Matt Glenn had one out here tonight. AJ Pritchett will finish second in his number 10 machine. Dustin Bolgren will round out the podium in third. Kyle Clenworth, after starting 17th on the field tonight, will make it up to fourth. Chris Wetz will finish in the top five. Aaron Likens will be sixth with IAR's Mark Murphy in seventh. Alex Krapser will finish eighth. Crash Neon in ninth. Chris Fletcher will round out the top 10. David Zippy will be 11th. Miles Morris will be 12th, 7 laps down with damage. Taylor Thurman, 12th down with damage in 13th. John Corwin will be 14th. Andy Kirkenbauer in 15th. Andre Castro in 16th. And Matt Glenn in 17th. Rounding out the 17-car field here tonight. Tough break for many of these drivers down at the bottom of the order. We'll hope to see them again in the future, making another attempt here at Indy NXT Oval here on P1. See if we get anybody up here in the interview room. We'll just leave Bolgren's car parked here on the screen. See if he gets on up here. We actually got Dustin and AJ in here, so we'll bring Dustin Bolgren on up here momentarily. Started 7th, worked his way through the field here in the opening stages. Dustin, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Sure do, bud.
Well, you started on the 4th row here tonight. We're able to work your way to the bottom step of the podium here. Quite a chaotic race, a game of survival, trying to stay off the walls and off each other. Kind of talk us through how you navigated the race here tonight.
Yeah, that was a little chaotic for sure. Yeah, qualifying wasn't great, but felt like we got up there fairly quick, and I felt like I had something for Dylan there for a little while. It's just, you're having to be super defensive and try to rip the fence, and then I got just that AJ was throwing haymakers down there. I mean, more power to him, and he was making it work. It just, the one time he did it on me, I got tight and gave him the spot there. So all in all, good run, good points. So it was fun.
Yeah, it looked like it was a close battle between trying to keep that momentum on the high side and people being able to dive it very, very low in turns 1 and 2. And it seemed like maybe that set of corners and down the back straightaway was your biggest opportunity to pass. Do you feel like that there might have been any opportunities had the race stayed green for longer towards the end there? You might have been able to challenge further up the field, or was it just so difficult to play the defensive game behind you to make any moves ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't need the second to last caution there. I felt like I was kind of getting a run and some momentum built back up. I felt like, I had felt like I'd made some challenges there with Dylan, sent a dive bomb in myself early on, and I felt like I had pace with him, and then AJ got in the mix. So I didn't need the cautions, didn't really want. I wasn't so worried about defending behind at that point, but you had to, you still had to keep an eye on the mirror to make sure one wasn't coming.
Well, you were still able to hold on to a solid third-place finish here tonight. I believe this is your second podium on the season. We had you up here at Nashville, I believe. But good to see you back on up here. If you've got any friends, family, sponsors you want to shout out here tonight, microphone's all yours, Dustin.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, just shout out to 2 teammates in. Again, another rough night for them. But you're going to see all of us up here at some point. So we're going to keep pecking away. And I'm just a fortunate one right now that's getting to get on the step. So appreciate the broadcast. Like I said, good fun race, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week at Atlanta, Dustin. Hope to catch your teammates up here on the podium in the future. Good run here tonight.
Yep, thanks, sir.
That is Dustin Bolgren, the third-place finisher here tonight. We will get AJ Pritchett on the screen here as he finishes second. His Pabst Blue Ribbon car, we'll have to find his car. There it is. The Pabst Blue Ribbon machine here for him. AJ, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting, you got me? AJ, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting, you got me?
Hey, yeah, I got you. Thank you.
Well, AJ, you started deep in the field, 9th position here, 5th row on the grid, and were able to work your way through the field. Looked like you were one of the few cars that was able to make consistent moves on that low side here tonight. Kind of talk us through how you worked your way up through the field and held on to the second spot here tonight.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. It was sure tough. Yeah, I mean, I did the race an hour ago. I had a little bit of practice. I think that helped a little bit for sure. But it was just about picking the right line at the right time. People seemed to like the high line, and if you get down low and get them clear, you know, that seemed to be working. If not, you kind of could get freight trained down the bottom. So it was a tricky one, but it seemed to kind of keep playing out in my favor. Had to avoid a little wreck there to keep it going. Yeah, very fun.
Yeah, it looked like that it was basically a battle of people trying to maintain momentum in the draft off turn number 2, or guys that could maybe get their car in nice and deep on the low side and clear off the corner. Kind of talk us through when you felt like you were able to make those moves and what gave you the security kind of move back up the track ahead to work your way forward.
Yeah, well, it definitely had to start in 3 and 4. If you felt good through there, which I was usually able to kind of get a wheel to the left and kind of get some clean air and stay pretty close to the car in front. And if I could read if they were going to maybe check up and try to stay high or something like that, I could maybe sneak down low. But it all started out of 4, and if I thought the move was worth it, I was going to go for it. And I was pretty lucky tonight to make them stick.
Well, it certainly puts you in a good spot at the end of the race here. Might have had a shot at the lead or the win here tonight had the race stayed green for a bit longer, but solid finish nonetheless here for you at Gateway. If you've got any friends, family, sponsors you want to shout out, microphone's all yours, AJ.
Thank you very much. I mean, just shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome. I've been a fan of you guys for a long time, so you guys do an awesome job. And my teammates back at Cam Motorsports, shout out to you guys.
Well, thank you for supporting the series here, AJ. We hope to catch you through the rest of the season. And next week at Atlanta, hopefully you can pull out another good run there.
That sounds like a good plan to me.
All right, that's AJ Pritchett finishing second here tonight. We'll get Dylan Wylazinski's car on the screen. He's parked on the front stretch here. He's not in the interview room for us to pull him on up here, but we'll give Dylan his due. Dominant performance here following the opening stage of this race. Took the lead from Matt Glenn following a little bit of contact, but kind of the nature of the beast here on the relatively short oval here in Gateway. Want to thank everybody for tuning in to the stream here tonight. We'll be back next week, as I mentioned, from Atlanta, same time as it was here tonight on P1 Broadcasting for the Indy NXT Oval Series in its inaugural season. And to all those that do the difficult jobs around the world, we want to thank each and every one of you for doing what you do and letting us do all the fun things we do here on this earth. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.